This iconic pigeon feeding enclosure in the heart of Mumbai has been around for more than a century now. Known as Kabutar Khana, it means a distinctive landmark of Dadar, where the daily feeding of pigeons continue as a long-standing community practice. Vrijlal Jain has been feeding pigeons at Dadar's Kabutar Khana for close to 40 years.
खिलाने का सबसे बड़ा धर्म है कि नहीं, आप मेरे को खिलाओ या मैं ही आपको खिलाऊं। और ये तो है कि जो बोल नहीं सकते वैसा सब जाने, कुत्ता, बिल्ली या कौआ या कबूतर, किसको भी तुम जो जो नहीं बोल सकते उसको सबको खिला दे। एक आदमी इंसान लोग ये ऐसा है कि जो खुद का बना के खा सकते हैं, बाकी इंसान बाकी कोई भी है नहीं, कोई भी जान खुद का बना के खा नहीं सकता है और खुद ऐसा ही लेके खा नहीं सकते।
But these otherwise harmless-looking birds are now becoming a serious health risk for those living around them, doctors confirm.
Hypersensitive pneumonitis is a type of ILD, that is interstitial lung disease, and it has been directly related to the exposure to pigeon dust, pigeon droppings and pigeon feathers. It is on the rise in the recent times because of the increased exposure to these pigeons in residential areas.
Mumbai-based pulmonologist Dr. Sandeep Mestri explains why hypersensitivity pneumonitis, a lethal lung disease, can be traced back directly to pigeon feathers and droppings.
Causative agent for this illness is the droppings, the fungus on the droppings, and the proteins which are present in the feathers. These have allergens, basically they are inhaled. Once they go into your respiratory system, they get deposited in the alveoli or the lung tissue, wherein it causes a inflammatory reaction. Once the inflammatory reaction comes in, all the others body immune system is triggered, and because of this there is constant inflammation of the lung and damage of the lung tissue. If it is not corrected at the right time, there are chances that because of the chronic exposure, the lung may get fibrosed, and a fibrosed lung is of no use.
The blue rock pigeon species that are commonly found in Mumbai have been residents to the coastal city for years, inhabiting the rocky cliffs that were once part of the city's coastline. But unlike other native bird species like miners and sparrows, these feral birds have adapted far more easily to the growing concretization of the landscape. Amey Ketkar is an avid birder and naturalist based in Mumbai. He believes it is the easy access to the seeds due to mercy feeding practices that has, over the years, led to this unprecedented rise in their population.
Every pigeon is probably eating 100 grams of grains every day, so makes it around 35-40 kgs in a year. Okay, and the lifespan of the pigeon is around 6 to 8 years. So during his lifespan, one pair is giving birth to around 60 to 80 pigeons. So for 60 to 80 pigeons, they are actually consuming around 12,000 kgs of seeds, grains, jwari, maize, whatever people are offering them, and 12 tons is a lot.
According to civic authorities, there's been a 150% rise in the pigeon population of Mumbai in the last 5 years. Apart from the Kabutar Khana, like this one in the Dadar area, pigeon clusters are common across the city as people continue to feed them at roadsides and even inside building compounds. The humid climate of Mumbai adds to the problem. Visit apartment complexes and offices and you will witness pigeon droppings and feathers stuck on practically every surface of the city's landscape. Amrita Ganguly and her daughter live in this high-rise building in a central suburb in Mumbai. Their balcony is now covered with a net to ward off pigeons. For years, Amrita's daughter Navya suffered from severe allergies caused by pigeon exposure.
that point where we were staying, it was a oldish housing society, and there was a situation where there was dust, there were rodents, there were also pigeons around. So at that point, it didn't strike me at all. But when she was about 5, I think all her allergies kind of came to a peak. She had dermal allergies, she had gastric allergies, and we were shocked to see that there was a +3 sensitivity to a few triggers, and these were pigeon fur, pigeon poop, and along with some masoor dal and a few more things.
Within 3 months of moving out to a new house that had minimum exposure to pigeons, they noticed a significant difference in Navya's health.
Subsequently, her dermal allergies went away, her hive stopped entirely. Now that's the interesting part, right? We think the pigeon allergy was the bronchial problem, but because the strength of the overall body improved, the dermal allergies went away. Like, she hasn't had acute hive, sometimes she does, but the acute, that whole hand getting filled with mosquito bite kind of patches, didn't happen for a longest time. Her gastric allergies significantly went down.
I remember playing with pigeon feathers when I would go downstairs. I would use them as quills, and that was my favorite pastime, which was just pretending that, because it was just fun little things lying around. I did not think that a harmless feather would suddenly just ruin my life for the next many years, because of all of these allergies, asthma, everything. I couldn't participate in sports in school. I couldn't really do much. Even annual day, I remember, for dancing, I couldn't dance continuously for too long because I would start, wheezing and panting.
Conservationists are calling this a man-made ecological crisis, where a few bird species have dominated the skyline, pushing out other birds like flycatchers and flower peckers.
You are only promoting pigeons and kites and crows by maybe intentional mercy feeding, or maybe just the problem out of garbage mismanagement. And in turn, you can see that now that balance which used to be earlier between the birds of prey and the prey species, that is no more now.
The Mumbai Municipal Corporation has now banned mercy feeding, imposing a 500 rupee fine on defaulters. However, no one was available from the BMC to comment on its effectiveness, as we still saw several people continuing the tradition. There have also been talks of relocating some of these kabutar khanas to another location, but conservationists feel that will not solve the problem.
When you say relocate, that means from place A to place B, and we don't believe in that. It won't solve the problem, and that's why we are also trying to bring back the raptor population. So one of the projects of BNHS is to conservation breeding of falcons and goshawk and falcons, some of the raptors, and then release that population after breeding, release that population back in the urban atmosphere like Mumbai, which may control the pigeon population naturally.
Meanwhile, the lack of awareness around the situation is worrying.
I myself, around in a month's time, we have a diagnosis of around 5 to 7 patients of hypersensitive pneumonitis, and with the number of consultants, if everyone may be diagnosing this illness, the number is very alarming. Not involving the lung is always a paucibacilli. There is this challenge of explaining it to patients that these things can cause damage to your lungs. Basically, feeding pigeon is considered as very religious or some kind of a tradition or some kind of a in India, and so it becomes very personal for them. They feel that, okay, he's coming into my personal space, so I would try to avoid it. Many patients have stopped coming to us just because we, in daily visits, we tell them that please avoid this, which they cannot, and so, well, they have to suffer it later on.
We asked Vrijlal what he knew about the diseases spread by these birds.
तो आपको ये पता है कि इनसे थोड़ी बीमारियां भी फैलती
नहीं, कभी नहीं, गलत है। ये खाली मन का मान्यता है, बाकी कुछ भी नहीं है।
कोई बीमारी नहीं?
नहीं, कोई बीमारी नहीं। मैं घर पे भी 10-15 साल से डाल रहे, रनिंग पूरा दिन में वैसा डालते ही रहे, खाली होता है डालते रहे, कोई तकलीफ नहीं है।
इससे हमें कोई नुकसान?
एक डिस्टर्ब नहीं, नुकसान तो नहीं होता है। अंदर तो बराबर साफ सफाई, शाम को भी साफ सफाई होता है, लगभग दिन में 3 से 4 बार साफ सफाई होता है बराबर।
The lack of information and stringent government response to the issue has meant that those who are particularly susceptible to the health risks continue to stay vulnerable.
I think the general public will probably still not understand that, and I see kids going around sitting in the middle of pigeon clusters and just enjoying it because they're birds, the exposure to birds, the limited exposure to birds that we have here. I feel bad. I don't know what else to do. I don't want to go around policing people and tell them, no, you can't sit here, you can't do anything. What is my basis for saying that? Oh, you might fall sick, or you are falling sick. So you just kind of carry on and hope that people will understand at some point.
You know, the unfortunate part is, you know, the moment it has anything to do with beliefs and faiths and religion, the greater good kind of gets dissolved there. It's like, this is my thing to do, if you have a problem, you move away. Any cluster of pigeons in a society is going to affect 100% of infants in that locality to have a compromised immunity, which will in turn trigger asthma, other bronchial triggers, and also cause what happened to her, different kinds of allergies because the immunity is compromised. In one sweep, you're exposing 100% of your population to that trigger. Do the math. You need a legislation around it for you to understand that if I don't curb this with legislation, that this problem is not going to go away.
The overdominance of pigeons is not just a Mumbai problem. Cities like Singapore and Berlin have suffered similar situations and even opted for culling the birds as last resort. But culling would be too extreme a measure in the Indian context. The solution lies in sensitizing people and for the government to take necessary action.
If you just actually want to feed birds in your balcony, you can just keep some water, small feeder. I think that should do. There's no need to interfere more and get into this excess kind of feeding, indiscriminate feeding. So a lot of people say that why can't we cull them or kill them? That happens not because our culture is very different, doesn't happen in India. So let's not get to a stage that we have to cull them or go to these extremes. By just making these small changes in our lives, we can control the nature is amazing, given a chance it will bounce back. Just leave it alone, see how things, and it will come back in a way which it's remarkable actually. So let's just give nature a chance and just do these small things, and I think we are okay.
Thanks for watching Eco India. If you like the story, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Scroll.in on YouTube.